Welcome back to another episode of Voices of Video. And we are continuing in the session that we began, or the series, I think you could say more accurately, that we began before NAB, where we were talking with a number of our partners, that is the VPU ecosystem partners. And today I'm super happy to have Adam Nilsson from NetInsight back with me. So first of all, Adam, welcome back to Voices of Video.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we had such a good conversation, before NAB, and you were giving some incredible updates as to your integration with NETINT VPUs and Nimbra Edge. Wow. I assume we were so busy, I don't think we really got to talk much during NAB now that I think about it.
No, I went by your booth and you were all busy and we didn't have much time. It's like,
And you guys,
it's good.
the same. I went by your booth and, it was jammed. So,
Yeah.
I'm always I'm polite in that way. It's like, okay, they're having real conversations. They don't need to talk to me right now. So anyway, well, what were the, I would say the results, the takeaways, what were customers telling you, at NAB? Yeah, give us the download.
Oh, wow. Well, for us, it was a huge step, right? Because what we're doing is something very new for us. Well, after our last interview, there was some people mentioning, I saw that we're back. We're going more towards distribution and OTT. So
Tommy
basically,
Flanagan wrote up a
yes,
great piece about you, and I think that's exactly what he said, is like,
yeah.
NetInsight is back. So yeah.
Exactly. So, a lot of people came up just based on that. People were excited hearing about, okay, what is it that you guys are now doing again? And this, the possibilities we have with this, collaboration, working together, integrating your product into our Nimbra Edge platform opens up this new type of workflows, which the customers hadn't really thought about because our Nimbra Edge platform has been mostly focused on the transmission side, and now we can do a lot more with that. So people wanted to understand how can I leverage these, this product packaging in an efficient way, making my day easier, saving money, but also enabling a bunch of stuff. Fun thing, after we had our interview, I was actually contacted by an organization, a UN organization regarding AI in the third world countries, like how AI can become a democratizing thing to share content into the third world, where you need low bit rates and stuff like that, and we can do that.
Yeah.
So it's been a lot of great and cool feedback.
Wow, I'm so happy to hear that. It's very intentional that we are positioning our collaboration as like an ecosystem rather than just, and I say this, in all fondness, rather than just two logos saying, hey, we like each other. It seems like so many, press releases that come out we see in the industry are like, company A is working with company B. Actually are cool, and they're like, yeah, that's cool. But most people are like, I don't really care. Like, what are you going to do for me?
Yeah.
Like what's company A plus company B, going to do for me? And so this really has been the focus in NAB. Our conversations were I mean, exactly like what you referenced, yours were. People are 100% laser focused on cutting costs. And I think vendors now get it. A year ago, there were a few holdouts that were waiting for the return to the good old days. Big fat RFPs and budgets, that are, and deals that can last for 3 years and 5 years. And those days are gone. Not only is it about cutting costs, but it's about doing more with less, which you can say, well, isn't that cutting cost? In my view, it's a little bit different though, because you can cut costs by just hammering your partner down. just telling them, I'm sorry, I'm going to buy unless you give me X% discount, and eventually, oftentimes the seller kind of has to go, well, okay, I got to cut my price. That's cutting costs, but that's really not. And I'd like your reaction to this because it's not
Mhm.
really what I am hearing, what we're seeing. What we're seeing is, yes, we need to reduce OPEX and sometimes by very meaningful amounts, but we need higher density because we need to reduce our power footprint.
Mhm.
In other words, even if my cost is only reduced by a relatively small percentage, if I can reduce my power footprint, that's a win. Or it's, we have a particular business model that only will work if we can get our stream costs down to, below some threshold, in other words, at some
Mhm.
point, which then opens up revenue, right?
Yeah.
That was a different way to look at it. So I'm just curious if we're kind of hearing or seeing or observing the same kind of thing.
Yes, so I definitely did. So one of the reasons why we wanted to go in this direction was, of course, because the transmission part is a place where you do want to cut costs. Like that is something that is becoming, well, more and more feasible and easy to get. And there's different solutions out there, and people want to cut that cost. But what they want to do is to reduce, as you said, the footprint in general, and having a VPU in order to make more high density stuff and be more efficient in the way you do things is a way of being cost conscious. It doesn't really
Yeah,
mean that you might, there will always be an upfront investment, I would say. You're going to buy
that's
your
right.
equipment,
Yeah.
or you can, leverage the cloud, because we have that as well.
Yeah.
But if you can be really mindful of where you use these products, you
Mm-hmm.
can save yourself a bunch of, well, money, but also
Right.
a bunch of time. So there's different ways of looking at it. And I think what customers came to me with was, they saw this as a huge opportunity of a little bit centralizing what they do to fewer systems. So
Mm-hmm.
that's a way of cutting costs as well, right?
Yeah.
They don't need to send streams into third parties. They can do it from one central place. And the
That's
cool
right.
thing with that is, when I say central, it's like, yeah, it's almost like an orchestration. But the thing is, your equipment, like the VPU cards, can be either used on-prem or in the cloud. So
Mm-hmm.
depending on your needs, they can use them on the input side, they can use them on the output side, they can actually use them in between the source and
Mm-hmm.
destination, depending on what you want to achieve. If you have one stream that you want to send out to 10 takers and it should have the exact same config, you want to do that transcode, that transformation, you want to do it on the input side because you just want to do that once. You don't
That's
want
right.
to do it
That's right.
on the output side where you have 10 different,
Yeah.
you know, or it's the other way around. You're sending it to 10 takers, they want different configs. Then you want to do it on the output side
Mm-hmm.
because you want to set each config there, you want to reduce latency and all of that. And
Mm-hmm.
our solutions working together gives you, as a user, that flexibility. And I think that got a lot of cogs rolling in the minds of our,
Yeah.
customers and potential customers. And that was the cool part, that they saw opportunities. They didn't say, "Oh, I'm going to save myself cost." They said, "This
Yeah.
gives me an opportunity to be more efficient, to give my customers better value." And that is the cool
Yeah.
part of it.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Why don't you, for those people who are not familiar with Nimbra Edge or, don't know the architecture, can you give a really quick flyover of what the architecture is, how
Sure.
the system is built?
Yes, so it's a Kubernetes base. You can run it on Docker as well. If you think of it, it's easy enough as an SDI router in the cloud. So you have sources, you have destinations, and you can transport it using ARQ protocol. So we use RIST, and what we've done then is that, adding to that, we've integrated your solution to that, using APIs and all of
Mhm.
that, so that once we take a stream in, we can run that through different processes
That's right.
using the VPU. So we have an transformation engine that makes it possible to do compression bitrate. You can do resolution changes. You can do audio shuffling and audio codec changes and a bunch of cool stuff, deinterlacing, and a bunch of stuff, all using our solution together with yours.
Yeah.
So think of it as an SDI router in the cloud with some, secret sauce and some extra sauce in there with the VPUs helping out.
Yeah, you touched on this. Yeah, thank you. I'm just conscious that, we always assume, oh, everybody, kind of knows our solutions. Not everybody does. So it's good to, let them know. You referenced something that I would love to get your feedback on how much of a trend this is. And that is, you were saying that people are starting to, maybe think about how on the input side, meaning like in the stadium, in the venue, might be the most efficient place or the best place to create your ABR ladders rather than what is happening now in pretty much 100% or at least 99% of the workflows where, they're taking a single camera feed. They're usually sending up to the cloud, or to, the cloud. It could be their private data center. It could be one of the cloud vendors, so you understand what I mean by the cloud, but sending it to some other location, then they're creating their ladders, then it's being distributed to the origins, the CDN, et cetera. Is this becoming a real trend, like this idea of doing the transcoding in the venue and just why touch it again? Like, I create my ABR ladders and I just distribute them from there.
Yeah, there are definitely use cases where I would say that is the most efficient and the cheapest way of doing things. And I think what has been difficult before is that due to the fact that you don't have equipment everywhere, maybe you don't have the resources to do everything everywhere, that hasn't been possible. But with this solution, you can do that. And that is sort of the cool part. So what we've sort of really tried to bring to the market and make them understand is that we're trying to make that achievable so that you have the flexibility of saying, you know what, I want to do this as quickly as possible, reduce latency, just get it out there because I don't need to touch those feeds or those streams.
That's right.
As they leave the venue. I just want to touch them there and they're all good. We'll send them out, we'll distribute them. And that is a very efficient way of doing things. So I think just looking at that type of value and trying to understand what the user and the customer is trying to achieve, you really can pinpoint where it's the most efficient, where's the most efficient place in this chain of distribution to do it. So I definitely see us going more towards doing it at the venue. There will always be stuff, things, transformations you would do closer to the taker, but we'll see a change in that, I think.
Yeah, it's so interesting how architectures are being, reinvented or enhanced, or things that theoretically I can remember years ago. And when I say years, I mean this had to have been more than 10 years ago, where Cisco gave a presentation with Comcast at the cable show. This goes back to when that still was happening in its engineering incarnation. I know it's sort of changed, directions through the years. I don't even know if it's still going. But this had to have been 2013, 14, maybe 15. And the whole presentation was the benefits of effectively distributing a single profile, so your highest bitrate profile over the network, and then encoding or transcoding at the edge. And, and I don't remember, of course, all the details. It was too long ago. But, Cisco was showing how much you would reduce the load on the network. There was, complexity. And everybody in the room, I mean, the room was packed, it was packed. Like people wanted to hear about this. I don't think there was anybody that left and went, oh yeah, that's like, that's a great concept, never work. Everybody was excited. The problem is it didn't work because it was just too expensive then to encode in software on CPU. And then how are you going to get enough compute at the edge of a large network? So you might be able to do it in a few regions and, but if you're talking about serving all of the users with this topology, Like it just wouldn't work. So I've always remembered that because, and this was before, in fact, actually, interestingly enough, NetInt was born right around that time. It was 2015, the company was founded, so, and I'm quite certain because at the time we were focused in a slightly different area. So I can almost guarantee that our founders weren't even aware of this presentation and all of this. So it's not like it was this coordinated thing like, oh, wow, that's brilliant. Let's go build a company, to produce custom IP to be able to actually pull this off. But that's what has happened now. And now this whole concept of being able to encode at the edge, really do edge processing, do it cost effectively, and frankly, have it provide a better, not just reduce cost, but a better result for the user. Now it's finally here. So we're really excited that you're pushing this, in that direction. Pushing that architecture.
We did a presentation at NAB. We wrote a paper and we did a presentation regarding the edge processing and how that, allows for these localized adaptation without actually burdening the cloud, and how that will save you egress cost and it will improve latency. And, in the end, the cloud is used for scale. Use cloud for scale. It's great at that, but do use the edge for specificity, because that is, not all streams need that heavy cloud involvement. And that is just super important. So making conscious decisions about this will help you so much. And, once you talk to customers about that, people get confused because they hear Net Insight and NetInt and they think it's the same company. But
it's fun. How many times did you have people come in and go, "Hey, I love NetInt," and you're like, well, we're Net Insight, but we like NetInt too.
Love them. We work with them. We know the guys. We're all happy. But but when we talked about this, it's funny. It's like a light bulb coming up. For some people, they're like, "Oh, you can actually do this. It's not just something like what we talked about or what we wrote about. It's not like a theoretical thing. It's something you can actually do. There's a product available to do that." And that is the cool part. That it's out there. People can get it.
Yeah. Amazing. Well, speaking of this white paper, I'm glad you brought it up because you've got some numbers in there that are, I'm sure were eye-opening. I'm not going to put words in your mouth, but I'm guessing you had more than a few customers walk into the booth at NAB and be like, okay, are these real? And so maybe you can give a preview as, or tell the audience, what the real data, because these are real numbers. This isn't, kind of modeled in a lab in theory, like this is real. So
no, we checked what the difference would be between doing things in the cloud versus doing it on-prem using the VPUs, and especially on the encode side, but also on the decode side. And I think what we suggested is that you can at least get a 66 to 70% decrease in cost leveraging on-prem equipment. And I must say, when I say that, but because people did come up saying, that can't be real. And sure, you can say, sure. If you look at list prices, and I will say we were very, very nice about that, because we didn't take the largest list prices. Like we went for the median ones.
Sure.
But in the US market, it's more expensive, so you would save even more. But what was cool about that is no, that this is true. Sure, you can sign up and you could probably get a 3-year contract with a lower cost, but then you've invested for 3 years. Do you want to be that? You don't want the flexibility of that? So it's a huge cost saving if you do it in the right way. And just being able to talk about that, and it sounds like a sales pitch, but it's not. It's about just getting the mindset there, because there's a vendor lock-in you will get by leveraging the cloud sometimes that I think you can avoid if you're clever.
Yeah, that is so key. I really want to piggyback on just what you finished with there, that vendor lock-in, and not to sort of what do you say, push on the wound because I know everyone just wakes up one day at some point and says, what have I committed to?
Yeah.
These commits are real and you pay the bill regardless. And so you're forced then to find things to push to the cloud, which, hey, good for them. What an amazing business model and way to guarantee revenue in the future. But what a bad business rationale for the user, for the customer. So I'm going to read the numbers, the per stream cost, because I really want this to sink into folks about how much more, when we use words like 66% less, 70% less. Okay, does that translate to $10, $100, $1 million? What does that translate to? So your analysis showed using Media Live, so AWS Media Live, and this was a US, I think you chose the North Virginia location. Obviously, locations can change, but you were very explicit. You modeled it with that location. For a 3-year per stream cost, and you modeled nothing crazy. It was like 10 streams. You have the monthly cost here, and you multiply by 36 months and you come up with a number. But per stream for 3 years, it was $10,117.80. But so just call it $10,000.
Yeah,
$10,000. Okay, everybody's kind of like thinking in their mind probably at this point, yeah, that sounds about right. There's probably somebody that's like, oh, they're paying too, like I get a better deal. And there's probably others that are like, holy cow, how can I get that price? So anyway, the point is we are totally aware that mileage will vary in terms of, how much business you're giving AWS and, whether it was the end of the month or not, or the end of the quarter.
Yeah.
Okay. Now using NetInsight, and this includes your software licensing cost, right, Adam?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. I just want to double check because that's also important, because sometimes I've seen companies do models where it's like, yeah, they're looking at operational costs, but then they kind of conveniently forget to say, oh, but our software is, it's like, so this is fully loaded. That per stream cost on NetInsight with VPUs would go from a little over $10,000 per stream to $3,500. So that's like 1/3.
Yeah.
It's, it's 1/3 the cost, 1/3. So that's where this 66, 67%. And again, depending on, factors like, codec resolution, codecs and resolution. So like if you are wanting to, HEVC 4K, I'm guessing that these that this AWS costs like doubles or even triples, right? If you were to do 4K, or maybe you modeled 4K, but I think this is HD.
This is HD. That's what we modeled. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So again, the point in this is that this is real data. This is all real. And I just really encourage anybody who's listening, who's saying like, wow, that does sound good. We should take a look at it. You really, really should take a look at it, model your scenario. And, as I always, even hear customers say back, like, you know what? Even if in our case, it's only a 40% savings, or God forbid, a 35% savings, I'll be doing backflips, like the numbers are so profound. So,
yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. And the thing is, even the numbers we came up with ourselves based on our solution and yours, I would say that those are also, depending on the amount a customer wants to buy, those prices will also go down. I would say that's a worst case scenario, what we've modeled there. So, it just shows that I don't want to put like a big dark, thing over the cloud, because I think the cloud is great. I think there's great stuff leveraging the cloud. But I think as a user and a customer, you really need to be aware of where you should spend your money and when it makes sense to spend it on cloud, and when it doesn't. And I would say that we have very good arguments for not using the cloud on the edges, because
Yeah.
we can make it possible. Everything you want, we can make it possible.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, where can somebody go to get this white paper? Is it on your website, or how could
We're
they, if they're
about
like,
to
yeah.
publish it quite soon on our website. I think it'll
Oh,
be available
okay.
in the upcoming days, and then you can get it from NAB as well, I think. But it's about
Okay.
to be published on our site soon enough.
Okay. Okay, great. Well, we'll make sure we link up to it, and so people can very easily download it, because I
Yeah.
think this is going to get sent around some of the largest platforms out there, and
Yeah.
will definitely be be reviewed. So, Adam, where are your customers actually operating this hardware? So, if they're on AWS today, um, NETINT VPUs are not on AWS, so it's not like they can just select those instances. So, are they running in their own data centers? Do you have partnerships? Are you hosting? What does that look like?
So, well, we're cloud agnostic, so you can run the solution in any cloud you want, no matter if it's AWS or Oracle or GCP or whatever it may be. You can run it on your
Sure.
own data centers, and together with your solution, you can put that in a box. You can use
Yeah.
that with our boxes, or
Yeah.
they can buy your boxes. The integration is
Sure.
there, and then the cloud integration with Akamai is also will be available. Has that been public yet?
Oh, it absolutely is. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. NetInt VPUs on the Akamai Connected
Yes.
Edge, Connected Cloud. Oops. Connected
So
Cloud are, yeah, very
that
real.
that can be leveraged as well. So, it depends on where the customers want to run it, but that
Yeah.
is what we're trying to provide. Like we give you the flexibility of almost running it wherever you want. And
Hmm.
that is the cool part of this. So
Yeah.
most of our customers right now run it on-prem. So they would run it on either, the encode solution, or they would run it on a decode solution. But we are seeing
Hmm.
more customers wanting to use it in the cloud, especially now that it's also available. So that's
On Akamai in
yeah.
particular. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
That's great. That's great. Well, the key takeaway there in my mind is that you offer flexibility.
Hmm.
You're not locking someone in to either one particular platform or another, or a limited, as long as the resources that are needed are available, then
Yes.
you can run it anywhere. So yeah, that's great.
Correct. And that has always been sort of a key thing for us, to be open and
Hmm.
agnostic and all that. So yeah.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, it's very cool. Well, what's next for you? Where are you taking Nimbra Edge? And let's talk about kind of the near term.
Mhm.
So any new features coming out, being announced? Any?
Yeah. So, well, working together with you guys, I know we have a bunch of stuff coming up during the
We
year.
do.
I
Yeah,
I'm sure there will be more new
there'll be
cool
more
features.
announcements, and yeah, yeah,
Yes.
it's true.
So now it's about getting it out there, putting it in the hands of customers and getting it into production. We're also introducing this together with at the end of this year, we'll have an ad insertion solution focused on the
Yeah.
American market, and especially localized ads where you
Mm,
can run this together. So that is our sort of next step. Bring more
mm,
features based on our joint effort, and especially the ad insertion part. So that's going to be,
mm.
I think, tremendously fun and bring a lot of value to the
Yeah.
market.
Yeah. Amazing. Well, good. Well, Adam, it was great talking with you again. Really appreciate your time, and congratulations, on all of the. Hey, anytime I actually wrote Tommy Flanagan a little note. I said, "Hey, anytime someone gets some props from you, boy, it's a good day." Tommy's a great guy.
Oh, I got
Uh,
so stressed. People
yeah,
sending
yeah,
me,
yeah.
these guys are
You
listening
open
to
it
this.
up.
I'm like, what have I said?
Oh no, what's Tommy gonna say? No, Tommy's a great guy. One of the things I actually do appreciate, I don't know if everyone appreciates it, is it he says it how it is, maybe he has a slightly different view than we will at sometimes, but he says it how it is, and the point is, he did rightfully identify that NetInsight is doing something really new, really revolutionary. I think maybe saying you're back implies you were gone, which you clearly were not as a company. So, but hey, it's it's great. So yeah, keep up the good work. We're excited for our partnership together, and we're going to be talking about more exciting things in the not too distant future. So
no, I'm looking forward to it.
Awesome. Well, good. All right. Well, thank you for all of those who are supporting Voices of Video. We, certainly hope you find a ton of value in the content. And, by the way, if you have any questions, log them. You can reply to any of the numerous posts that we put out there. Put a comment in there. We actively monitor comments, and we're happy to follow up. Reach out to Adam at NetInsight. You can reach out to me. You can reach out to anybody from either of our teams. I think both companies are pretty accessible. So love to talk to you and answer questions. So until next time, as I like to say, happy encoding.